Some people say it's better. Do I really know or not? I don't know. All right, we're going to be trying to wrap up some of this engine build today, tomorrow. Basically, I want to get everything put on so it's ready to go in. As you saw, we got the crank is done. Everything is torqued. The rotating assembly is there. It rotates smoothly, nicely. But as you can see, we got two engines sitting here. This is going to be the original engine out of the car. I say original in terms of this is what was in the car. I don't think it's serial VIN matching anyways. This engine is the one that had the head gasket go on it, and it's been bored way over, has custom pistons, all that fun stuff. But it's so bored and thin that I know it's just gonna blow a head gasket in, so we're just going to build, as you know, this one. All right, so what I wanted to do is, I know this oil pump is good. I know I was getting good oil pressure with it. I could inspect it. I have the book and everything, but truthfully, we're just, with filming and time and everything, I'm just gonna be pulling it off, pulling the shims off with it, transferring it to this one, getting that all bolted on. And then the big thing is getting, this is not it, but is the crank timing chain gears. So this, if you don't know, it goes on the crankshaft there. And this is obviously engine's upside down, but your timing chain, well, it runs the oil pump, and then it also will run your timing. And the difference is why I took this one off of here is we're going to be running a single chain timing chain. From some people say it's better. Do I really know or not? I don't know. But what I do know is I had replaced the timing chain and everything right before everything, like when I rebuilt the engine the first time, before the head gasket went again. So I know that that timing chain is good. Everything's clean, not worn out, or how I don't, or it could be super, other ones could be old or whatever. So I know the new chain is good. So what we're doing is we're transferring these over. So I actually have the other one with one less gear in the oven right now, 450, about 30 minutes. Check it with a toothpick, make sure it's good, and then you slap it on there. So we're gonna get that nice and hot. We got the head gasket. This thing is slick. It's a multi-layer metal gasket. This is a little, like, I think 5 thou, 10 thou, I can't remember the exact. The original one is 51 and I got 61, so it's 10 thou bigger because of all this material we took off. Supposedly too, this is better because it won't fuse to the metal. You don't have to resurface the head anytime you pull it or anything. So if you want to see the comparison, there is the new and the old. Well, this is a new head gasket, but this is one that comes with the kit. It's whatever. And this is that metal one. And it's just a little beefier. It's all riveted together. And this thing is going to hopefully do really good. Let's get a move on. Get this oil pump off. Clean it up. Get it on there. And I'm going to check to see. I should have all new hardware for it, but we'll hang on to these just in case. I'm going to just transfer it directly over so I don't forget for now. Also, this one, the oil pump bolts to the support thing right here. So that goes onto the crank itself, and it has a shim. So I'm going to reuse this shim, put it on there just because I think it might need it. And then glad I looked too, because this dowel pin, there's already still left in that block. So we're going to pop that dowel pin out, get this transferred over. And I think there's an O-ring in here of some sort I'm going to replace, because as you can see, this is the oil pickup or whatever it is. Anyways, we're going to go look through this, clean this up, get it on that other engine. I got the one of the transfer tubes for the oil pump. This one was a little bent up, that's on this motor. So I'm going to change it out for for this one, because this one actually is in really good condition. And also the only other reason I'm not using the other pump from the motor this one got, the one that came out of this motor, is because, well, man, a white shirt was a bad idea. Because this, not this block, the other block, had some bolts that were in it and broke it all up, which you see. So that's why we're sticking with this one. What we're doing is popping these little clips off here, and then this comes off. And also, I could tell you that this thing is brand new because I replaced it. Same with the guide. So that's why we're going to use it. And now I just got to get this bolt out / holder and put that on the other engine, including this. Wow. Okay. That was easy. Kind of. Okay. So yeah, if you could see, this one's just all bent like that. If I show you this new old one, I guess, you see the differences. This one's been mangled. This one's super pristine. Since these are the ones I pulled out, I'm guessing these are the ones from the kit. So we'll stick that in there. Get my little oil can just to do a little lubrication. Grab a little squirt. The pigment right there. Grab our bolt / pin. I could see that this moves. So before I tighten it down, we're gonna put the oil pump on. And for some reason this pump, none of the other ones had, but this one has 2 O-rings in it. Don't know if it was supposed to be like that, but I doubt it. So there's a little spring and piston inside there that you don't want to forget either. And we'll get that set down here. We got our dowel pins out. Also the hardware for this bracket. Not connecting rod, but the crank cap. Oh, that's totally backwards. I'm an idiot. So we're gonna set that up there and then get the new hardware. So we're gonna put this shim on there since this one was shimmed. Once we get the gears on, then we can test the chain. And that's not seating like I would like it to. They both fit. A little tap to see if it'll seat, and if not, then I'll figure it out. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, no worries. Crisis averted, we're good. So now we got these, and then we will double check what the torque is on these. I'm gonna go with tight. Now, that is nice and pushed up in there. So I'm hoping that then therefore that's a line. It's hard to tell because make sure it's seated up into there. That's all. Who knows if that actually did anything. And if it didn't, pretty sure it goes just like that. Makes the most sense, right? Tell you from experience, these little clips inside the car are the worst. Watch, this is gonna be wrong. I'm gonna look at the book. And now the plan, because I realized I can't put this gear on until this is on, because you want to put your chain on and then put the gear on and tighten it, and it's kind of whatever. So the plan, if it all works out and I'm not an idiot, I got to make sure I don't put this on backwards. Goal is this, what size socket is this? A 36 millimeter socket. It fits nicely around the gearing. So I should be able to hit this and this should slide right on. So I'm gonna put a little bit of oil on here to prepare. I have a mallet and there. So we're gonna get this. I'm gonna go get my big boy, get this all lubricated, And I would have liked to rotate this, but I think we'll be fine on lining it up the keyway. And then we're going to hit this thing on, and hopefully it goes on and doesn't damage anything, because truthfully, tell you right now, it's not the best idea to do it when it's all put together and putting forces this way. This isn't made for that. It's made for, the bearings on the crank are made for up and down, not horizontal. So doing that isn't the best for it. So I'm going to try to be very careful. I think I'm going to brace it behind on the engine stand itself as well, just shoving whatever I can back there so that way when I'm hitting it, I'm hitting up against the engine stand. So I'm going to get all that stuff set up, and then I'll be back with the gear. Lined up. Oh, it's already going on nice and smooth. Oh, it's like I know what I'm doing. I didn't even have to hit it. Sweet. All of that prepping, just making sure this was wedged in there. I just stuck the old one in there, kind of wedged it in there to help push up against the engine block and the engine stand. Woo! I was a little nervous doing this job. That's a cool victory. So I had that guide on here, and then the chain wouldn't fit over it. So anyways, we're good now to get the timing chain. And as I said before, you have to kind of put it all on and put the gear on it to then get the chain on. I have new lock washers. And the book, this is verbatim. Let me double check how it reads. It says, installing change correctly, chain pressed with a light thumb. 2 lengths of chain are available. So, instead of anything, it says pushed with a light thumb. I mean, I guess it's not too tight. And as long as it's on there, because it can skip a tooth essentially, and the pump isn't that much resistance, so it shouldn't be a really tight chain anyways. Okay, I got it. And some people ask what I use for markers. I'm just kidding, no one's asked me at all. But this is just a Sharpie brand. So I've actually, this, if you care, this one actually has been the best one I've bought. I went through a couple before I finally found one that worked. We're just gonna make sure it's all tight, and we'll do some witness marks. So this just isn't to say that I've torqued them, but also if these don't line up, we know it's loosened up in the future. Cool, so that's done. Now we could put our giant chain guide rail thing back on. Like I said, it was super hard to get it couldn't do it actually, the chain wouldn't fit. But as you can see, it's a single chain. Yeah, that's what I kind of thought. We'll put this on last. So if you're watching this to build it, just wait to put this on so you don't lose your stinking clip. As you can see, the chain, the guides, and everything is there. Making sure these are in their little groove, because you don't want them to pop out and go inside your engine. But I think it's time to put the cover on, because it also has the tensioner in it that'll hold this somewhat taut. I got all this stuff back from the machine shop. The head is decked, installed the springs, and that's a pain in the butt. I didn't film it, it was very stressful getting the little keepers in and everything, but it is put together halfway. So I'm going to show you doing the second half of the rocker arms. I wanted to go do it, make sure I knew what I was doing right, and then show you guys on the second half. So as you can see, there it is. That's the first one done. All right, so what we have is the head. I've got the blue book up here just so I know, and I'm following every little bit just in case I forget something. But we have the shaft that goes through there right here. So we're going to be putting this through, and as we feed it through, we're going to install each of our rockers. And instead of going with the springs that traditionally, I have them over here. Also I have everything 1, 2, 3 cylinder, and I was able, great little box from Harbor Freight to put stuff in. So I got the rest of my rockers for the exhaust side. But yeah, we're not using these springs anymore. Island Engineering sells these, and they just clamp and they will hold themselves on that shaft and keep the rocker from sliding. It's not common. It's common with very high horsepower and stuff that those valves, when they're going really at high RPMs, they have a tendency to shift over, and then you'll break one. It won't make contact on your valve. So these lock it in. They keep them from sliding, and it's there. So as you can see too, there's just a little gap for them. I don't remember exactly the size, but just to keep them just a little floating. But I got those. I got new washers, new thrust washer here, and behind that is your little snap ring. All that's brand new. The only thing I'm reusing are the rockers because they all looked good. This head was originally on the car. It's in great shape. Just had it remachined because it was a crappy machining job the first time around. Also, side note, if you're doing this, you want to make sure your valve, this is the cover. I polished it for fun, but this is the camshaft cover, and you want them to also deck this because this will be slightly now taller than this head is, and you'll have weird gaps and it won't seal. So I had this done. So this is the same height as the head. And then I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to show you some of the valves and also, just kind of the odd things about this head that I found. Okay, so I flipped over the head because it's heavy, but I did spend the time and I lapped them all by hand. I know there's tools to do it, but I didn't want to overdo it or possibly ruin it because this is the only head I have, a good one. So I wanted to take my time, and doing it by hand, it's hard to mess it up. So this head is quite odd. It was built by Metric Mechanics way back in the day, is what I found. And they did some odd grooving in the channels here. I don't know why, if it does anything. Also, the valves themselves are grooved, as you can see. So anybody that knows this knows that this isn't standard. But you can see a nice machine surface. So I don't know what they're thinking this will do, but it's there. It works. The other thing I have done since you finish lapping them, put all the springs in, get all those valves tight, filled this up with gasoline, and saw if any of them leaked. Then I would know before I went any further, I needed to lap that one, but they all sealed beautifully. I was super happy about that the hand lapping worked great. Lapping worked as good as it did. It was sealed up. They're ready to go. Valves are done. On to the other side, we're going to do the rockers. I'm going to show you installing, like I said, the exhaust side. I already did the intake side, and then that's pretty much the heads built. Okay, so the first is to get this rod installed, put the valves, the rockers on it as I slide it in, but we're going to lubricate it. And also note, if you're doing this and you're doing it by just sheer guessing, I guess, or you're not reading anything, it's interesting. These tubes, there's two of them, they're different. This one is for the exhaust side because it's threaded on each side and it uses plugs. The other side, the intake side, has an opening on the back side, and that allows oil from actually your distributor mount here to flow through. So, as what I was saying is, those tubes come through here and here. So this one is going to stay open, and this inlet matches right up to that and allows oil to flow through, back through, and oil everything. So you always want to make sure that this one's open and that one's closed. Also note that there's a bolt that goes on here that has a sealing washer, and I have a new one, but this is the old one. Slightly thicker, but if you could see that, it actually has a seal on it, and so this will go, but the seal kit comes with a new one of these, so I don't need it. We're going to start putting this together, sliding it through. I'm using the liquid Molly B installation paste, and I'm just coating everything. And I'll show you the order of operations and what you need to know before you start doing it. Now, I don't believe on the exhaust side it doesn't matter in or out, but I'm just going to start like I did. I'm going to start on this side and run it all the way through, putting rocker, rocker, rocker. And these can just be clamped on, these retainers, but I just slide them on because now I don't have to unscrew and have a chance of losing all that kind of fun stuff. So this is my number one. I go over to my box. I grab my number one. Now, it's going to be reverse order of these. So, is it? There we go. Okay. This is another thing. Oof. All right. This has different ends. This one is notched out here. It's for this plate. This is the camshaft retaining plate. It slides into there, actually up, but it'll actually fit, supposed to fit, inside there just barely. There it goes. And that kind of keeps these from moving. So this needs to be at the front. I remember that now. And then these grooves are where the holes for the head bolts go. So you want to make sure you're positioning this basically perfectly straight with this notch down and these grooves facing the head bolts. So it's going to be in just like this. So for this one, since this doesn't rotate or anything, it's just a surface for the these to move on. I'm just coating the whole thing with just a little bit of heavyweight oil, just to help it slide through easier. And wish I had my gloves, but we'll do that. And now what we'll do, we'll start at the back here, turning this. Definitely lubricating for these. They're really big pain to get in and out. They're nice, tight fit in there. You're gonna have your thrust washer. There is a groove and a non-groove. The flattest surface up against here. The groove is where it'll help keep the snap ring in this. So that's gonna slide there. And then we're gonna also, I loosened up all of the adjusters just so I'm not going to mess too much with the valve trying to push it, but it is difficult with, I mean, you had to have the camshaft in, obviously, but it is difficult because you're going to be working against some of the cams. And so you have to rotate it and then be able to slide them in. And I've been trying to do the whole thing. Now we're going to do that. So then it's a washer. And like I said, I'm just sliding my retainer on. I don't believe there's a front or back. And we'll just go on to the next one.